Hello guys, welcome to Study for Civil Services. In this video we will see NCERT Class 9 Geography Chapter 2, that is Physical Features of India. We have already covered all the chapters of Class 6, 7 and 8 NCERT Geography, and in coming videos we are going to cover NCERT from Class 6 to 12 for Geography, Economy, Polity and History. And in this video we will also see the exercise, we will solve the exercise at the end of the chapter, and we will also see some of the important points associated with this chapter. Now let's start the physical features of India. See, India is a country, it is having all the physical features of Earth. That is, it is having mountains, Himalaya Mountains from west to east, then plains, northern plains. They are the largest plains in the India. Then deserts, the Great Indian Desert lying in the western part of the country. Then plateaus, that is Deccan Plateau, and then island. There are two groups of island. First one is the Andaman and Nicobar Island, which lie in the Bay of Bengal. Then the second group of island is known as Lakshadweep Island. They are actually coral island and they are present in the Arabian Sea. Now, if you see that India is also having different type of rocks, and some are very hard like marble, which has been used for making the Taj Mahal, and some are very soft like soapstone, which is used in making talcum powder. And if you see closely, the color of soil varies from one place to another, because see, soil is formed out of different type of rocks, and rocks actually, the rock formation differ from place to place because of the process, of formation of rocks. So the process of formation of rocks varies, and that is why the rock formation varies, and that is why the different type of soils, that the different type of colors of soils is present are present in the India. Now India is a very large landmass, and it formed during different geological periods, and actually these different geological periods, they have influenced India's relief, because a number of processes, such as weathering, erosion and deposition. See, these are the three main important, these are the three important process for the creation and modification of the relief of India, or any continent or any country. See, these three processes are associated with the rocks. Weathering is done by some of the, when rock breaks away, then erosion is done by some of the agent like wind, then wave or air, then water. And deposition means some of the sediments of the rock, they actually start depositing at some of the place, like the northern plains of India. They have been deposited by the rivers flow from the Himalaya, and in the way of their flowing, where they come up with different type of sediments, and these sediments, they actually start depositing, their all their things stuffs in the northern plains, and that is why the northern plains are formed. Now the earth scientists, they have attempted, to explain the formation of different type of physical features, and there are various theories also based on various evidences. The most important theory that is associated with the continents of present earth is the theory of plate tectonics. Actually, there are various theories, that like nebula theory, then the most important, then continental drift theory. But then the most acceptable theory came, and that is known as theory of plate tectonics. We will see all the other theories in the class 11 geography. And if you see the theory of plate tectonics, actually according to this theory, the crust or the upper part of the earth has been formed out of 7 major and some of the 21 minor plates. You can see in this figure there are 7 major plates. First one is the Eurasian plate, then African plate, then North American plate, then South American plate, then Indo-Australian plate, and then Antarctic plates. So these are the seven, seventh one is the Pacific plate. So these are the seven major plates, and there are various, around 20 to 21 minor plates. So the upper part of the earth, that is the crust, it is actually, consist of various type of, plates, various type of parts, and they are known as plates. And so the lithosphere actually, these are also known as lithospheric plates, because lithosphere consists of upper part of the earth, that is crust, plus some parts of the mantle. So this, according to this theory of plate tectonics, actually these seven major plates or major lithospheric plates, they interact among one another, and they result in the formation of various types of features, various types of landforms, various types of continents in the earth. Like there are some of the processes actually associated with these type of rock plates. The movement of these plates actually result in building of stresses within the plates and the continental rocks above, and thus leading to, various type of process. Like first one is the folding. Folding means the when two plates come closer to each other, they will converge, and they will form a destructive boundary, because one plate will try to, you know ride over another plate. So this is known as folding. Then faulting means when two plates try to go away from each other. So this is actually known as convergent boundary, divergent boundary. And in this type of interaction, actually the formation of new type of, rocks are formed, and that is why this is known as, you know the divergent boundary. Then third interaction among the plates is known as transform boundary, when the both the plates, they actually try to move horizontally. They try to move horizontally, and then they pass towards each other. Then they form the transform boundary, and the movements of these plates have actually changed the position and size of the continents over millions of years. There are three major interactions among the plates. First is the folding. Then folding is also known as convergent, and then the second one is the divergent boundary, when the plates try to move away from each other. Then third one is the transform. See, this is the direction. This is the figure 2.1, and it is clearly shown. In the first figure, you will see that there is a convergent boundary, and both the plates are trying to push over each other. They are trying to ride over each other. Then second is known as divergent boundary. They are trying to go away from each other, and the third is known as transform boundary. They are actually passing through one another only horizontally, and they are, moving parallel to each other. Now, if you see the oldest landmass, is known as the Gondwana land, and the peninsular part of the India. See, peninsula means the body which is surrounded on the three sides by the water, like Indian triangle. In the southern part is known as the peninsular part, because it is surrounded on the three sides by the oceans, like on the west by the Arabian Ocean, and then on the east by the Bay of Bengal Ocean, and on the south by the Indian Ocean. So this is the oldest landmass, and it is actually the part of the Gondwana land. See, we will all see all these terms, that is Gondwana and Ankara, Pangaea and Peninsula, in the class 11 geography. For, for this chapter, you can know that, see, in the ancient time, it was believed that there was a supercontinent known as Pangaea, and there was a super ocean known as Panthalassa. So, as the time passes and as the geological formations takes place, this supercontinent was actually divided into two parts. The northern part was known as Angara land, and the southern part was known as Gondwana land. So this, our Indian peninsula is the actually the part of this Gondwana land, and Gondwana land actually included India, Australia, South Africa, South America, and Antarctica as the one single landmass. And because of the convectional currents, this Gondwana land actually splitted the crust into a number of pieces, and thus leading to the drifting of the Indo-Austrian plate, Indo-Austrian plate in the southern side, and Indo-Austrian plate on the northern sides. And this northward drift actually resulted in the collision of the plate, this Indo-Australian plate, with the much larger Eurasian plate, and that is why this collision takes place between the Indo-Australian plate and the Eurasian plate, and that is why if the collision will take place, then the convergent boundary will form, and this actually result into the formation of the fold mountains of Himalaya. And the sedimentary rocks which were actually accumulated in the geosyncline and known as the Tethys, they were folded to form the mountain system of Western Asia and Himalaya. So that this is the actually the formation of the this is the process of formation of Himalaya. Now the Himalayan uplift out of the Tethys Sea and subsidence of the northern flank of the peninsular plateau. This actually resulted in the formation of a large basin. See, Himalaya was uplifted in the northern most part of the India, and the peninsular in the southern part was, actually it was subsided. So the both resulted in the formation of the large basin between the Himalaya and the peninsular part. And in due course of time, this depression, see, because of the uprising of the Himalaya and the subsidence of the peninsula, the depression was created in the in the region where the presently the Ganga Indus where flows is flowing today. So that depression actually gradually got filled with the deposition of the sediments by the rivers such as Ganga, Yamuna, and the various tributaries of Indus, flowing from the mountains in the north and the peninsular plateau in the south. So this resulted in the formation of the flat land of extensive alluvial deposits, and that led to the formation of the northern plate of India. So this is the process of the formation of northern plain of India. And the land of India, it actually displays various type of physical variation. Like the peninsular plateau consists one of the ancient landmass on the earth surface. We have already seen that it was the part of the Gondwana land actually, and it was actually supposed to be one of the most stable land blocks. And the Himalayas and the northern plains are the most recent landmark forms. So if you see, geologically, so the oldest, part of the India was actually this peninsular part, and the youngest part of the India, or geographically the youngest part of the India, is the Himalaya, and then the northern plains. So northern plains are the youngest part, and then the Himalaya, and oldest is the Deccan Plateau. And from the viewpoint of geology, Himalayas mountain, they actually form an unstable zone because the convergent boundary is active sometimes, and it is said that the Indo-Australia plate is still pushing the Eurasian plate, and that is why major earthquakes in the region, known as the in the region in the Nepal and some of the other surrounding regions in Tibet and some of the parts of northern parts of India, like in the region of Jammu Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and in the some of the mountains of the Pakistan. So it is in you keep hearing the news like the recent earthquake in the Nepal, and that is why this whole Himalaya region from west to east, it forms a zone of unstable. And in see, this is a fact, please remember this, that in any type of interaction between the tectonic plates, either in folding or in faulting. Folding means they try to you know come towards each other, and then faulting means they try to go away from each other, or if they form the transform boundary. In any case, the volcano and the earthquake will take place. And so if any type of interaction is taking place between the plates, then the volcanoes and the earthquakes will be formed there. And this is one more fact that the whole mountain system of Himalaya, they actually represent a very youthful topography, and with some of the features like they are having high peaks, they are having deep valleys and fast flowing rivers. And the northern plains are formed of alluvial deposits. I've already told you that they are carried through by various type of rivers which are originated from the Himalayas. And the peninsular plateau is composed of igneous and metamorphic rocks with gently rising hills and wide valleys. So if you see the rocks, Himalayas, most of the Himalayan part is consisting of the sedimentary rocks. Then peninsular plateau is composed of the igneous and metamorphic rocks. Now, if you see the major physiographic divisions of India, it can be grouped under the six categories. First one is the northernmost part, that is the Himalaya Mountains. It is actually there are three parts of this. If you see it now longitudinally, the Himalaya Mountains can be divided into three parts. That is the Greater Himalaya, then Lesser Himalaya, or Himadri or Himachal, and then the Shivalik range. So there are three parts if you see longitudinally, but and there are five parts if you see from west to east, that is latitudinally, and they are actually divided as per the as in between the rivers. So we'll first see the Himalaya mountain. They are actually geologically young and the structurally fold mountains stretch over the northern block borders of the India, and these mountains ranges run in a west-east direction from the Indus in the west up to the Brahmaputra in the east. Now the Himalayas, they represent the loftiest and the one of the most rugged mountain barriers of the world, and they form an arc actually, which covers a distance of about 2,400 kilometers, and their width varies from 400 kilometers in the Kashmir to the 150 kilometer in the Arunachal Pradesh. So please remember this fact that width of the Himalaya actually decreases as we move from west to east, but it is it is opposite in the case of the altitude or the height, because the altitude of the Himalayas actually increases as we move from west to east. So this is a fact. Please remember this. It could be directly asked in the exam. The width of the Himalayas, they decreases as we move from west to east, and the the altitude of the Himalaya, they actually increases as we move from west to east. So we can say that the altitudinal variations are greater in the eastern half than those in the western half. And I've already told you that the Himalayas consist of three parallel ranges in the longitudinal extent, and a number of valleys lie between these ranges. And three ranges, the northernmost range is known as Greater or Inner Himalaya or the Himadri, and it is the most continuous range and is consist of loftiest peaks with an average height of 6,000 meter or 6 kilometer. So these are the highest mountains, and all the prominent Himalayan peaks are found in Himadri or Inner Himalaya or the Greater Himalaya. This is the diagram of Himalayas. You can see this is a palmy knot. Knot means if you tie two or more threads to a point, then that point is known as knot. So that is why in context of these mountain ranges also, geographically this region Pamir is known as the knot, because various type of mountains, actually it was believed that various type of mountains originated from this point, and that is why this point is known as Pamir knot. Then there are various ranges in the Himalayas and in the Jammu Kashmir region, like the Karakoram range, then the Ladakh, then Janskar, then Great Himalaya range. See the mountains which are above the Great Himalaya, they are known as the Trans Himalaya, and Himalaya can be differentiated into three parts also. Like the first part is the Trans Himalaya, which are above, which are northern to the Greater Himalaya, And then the main three Himalayas, that is the Greater Himalaya, in Middle Himalaya, and the Shivalik range. And then there is another type of Himalaya that is known as Eastern Himalaya, and the Eastern Himalayas like Patkai, Boom, and then Naga Hills and the Mizos. Now this is the another figure, and it is a map of Indian relief, and again all those ranges are given there, and some of the tributaries of Indus are also there. So there is a formula to remember all the tributaries of Indus, and you should also remember all the tributaries from north to south, because this can be directly as in the examination. Like they will give you some three or four rivers, and then they will ask you arrange them in arrange them from north to south or from south to north. So there is a word you can remember to remember all this, all the tributaries of Indus. That you can remember that IJCRBS. It means that I means the Indus is the northernmost, then J means the Jhelum is south to Indus, and then C means Chambal, and no, not Chambal. Then Ravi, R means Ravi, then B means Bias, and then S means Satluj. This way you can remember the tributaries of Indus, and then you can also remember the tributaries of Ganga from east to west or from west to east. IJCRBS. C is Chenab. I for Indus, then in the northernmost, then J for Jhelum in the south of the Indus, then C for Chenab, and Chenab is the south of Jhelum. Then R means Rabi is the south of Chenab. Then B means Beas is the south of the Ravi, and then S is the southernmost. And this figure also showing all the major physiographic regions of India. That is, first is the Himalayas. Himalayas that consist of Trans Himalayas plus all the main Himalayas like Greater Himalayas and the Middle Himalayas, Shivalik range, and then Eastern Himalayas also. Then second part is known as Northern Plain. Third part is the Deccan Plateau, and fourth is the Great Indian Desert that lie in the western parts of the India. Then fifth is the coastal range, that consists of western coastal range and the eastern coastal range, and sixth is the island part of the India, that is Lakshadweep and as well as Andaman Nicobar Island. Now these are some of the highest peaks of the Himalaya. The highest you know peak present in the earth is the Mount Everest. It is in Nepal, and its height is about 8,848 kilometers, and the highest on the Indian, and that is around 8,598. And there are other ranges, top 10 ranges. And if you see, the folds of greater Himalaya are asymmetrical in nature. So the folds of great Himalayas are asymmetric in nature, means both the sides, if you see, cut the great Himalaya in the middle, then you will not get equal parts on both the sides, and that is why they are known as asymmetric in nature. The folds of Great Himalayas are asymmetric in nature, and the core of this part of Himalaya is composed of granite, and it is perennially snowbound, and a number of glaciers is found in the region of Great Himalayas. And the range which lies to the south of the Himadri or the Great Himalayas is it forms the most rugged mountain system and is known as the Himachal or Lesser Himalaya. And these, the Middle Himalayas or the Himachal or the Lesser Himalayas, these ranges are composed of highly compressed and altered rocks, and their altitude varies between 3,700 and 4,500 meters, or between 3.7 to 4.5 kilometers, and the average width is 50 kilometer. And the Pir Panjal actually range, forms the longest and most important range, and there are other important ranges like Dhauladar and Mahabharat range. And this range also consists of famous valley of Kashmir, Kangra, Kullu Valley in the Himachal Pradesh, and this region is well known for its hill stations. So the Great Himalayas, was famous for the these various type of glaciers present in there, and the Middle Himalaya or the Himachal or the Lesser Himalaya is famous for the various type of hill stations. And the height, the altitude of the Greater Himalaya was around 6,000 kilometer, and the width was around 150 kilometer. But the average height or altitude of Himachal or the Lesser Himalaya is around 4 kilometer, and the width is around 50 kilometer. And if you see that outermost range of the Himalayas is known as Shivaliks, and they extend over a width of around 10 to 50 kilometers and altitude of around 1 kilometer. And these ranges are composed of unconsolidated sediments brought down by rivers from the main Himalayan ranges. They located further north. So the outermost range of Himalaya, they actually consist of thick gravel and aluminum. And this is very important. The longitudinal valley, which lies between the Lesser Himalaya, that is Himachal, and the Shivalik, that is the southernmost part of the Himalaya, they are known as the dunes. And there are various type of dunes like Dehradun, then Kotli Dune, then Patli Dune. They are some of the well-known dunes. And I have told you that Himalaya could be divided either longitudinally or latitudinally also. So the if you divide the Himalaya latitudinally, that is from west to east, there are five divisions, and they have been actually demarcated by the river valleys. For example, the part of the Himalaya that lie between the Indus and Satluj, they are known as Punjab Himalaya or Kashmir Himalaya or Himachal Himalaya. And the part of Himalayas lying between the Satluj and Kali River is known as Kumaon Himalaya, and the Kali and Tista River demarcate the Nepal Himalaya, and the part that lies between the Tista and the Dihang River, Dihang or Brahmaputra River, this is known as Assam Himalaya. So latitudinally, the Himalaya could be Punjab, then Punjab, then Kumaon, then Nepal, and then Assam Himalaya. And there are regional names also in this category. Now, if you see, the Brahmaputra actually makes marks the easternmost boundary of the Himalayas, and beyond the Dihang Gorge, actually the Himalaya bends sharply to the south and is spread across the eastern boundary of the India, and though they are known as Purvanchal or the eastern hills and mountains. And these hills actually, they running through the northeastern states. They are mostly composed of strong sandstones which are sedimentary rocks. So most of the parts of Himalaya are actually sedimentary rocks. Please remember this. And then the covered with the dense forest, these eastern Himalaya, then they run mostly, as the parallel ranges and valleys. And Purvanchal comprises actually the Patkai, the Naga, the Manipur, and Mizo. So, so the major ranges of the eastern Himalayas are Patkai, and Patkai is the northernmost, then Naga, then Manipur, and then Mizo hills are the southernmost. So this is the first major division of the India, major physiographic division of India, that is Himalaya. Second most important major, second most important physiographic division of India is Northern Plain. They are actually formed by interplay of three major river systems, that is the Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra, plus their tributaries. And their plain is formed of alluvial soil and the deposition of alluvium in a vast basin or the depression lying at the foothills of the Himalaya over millions of years. They actually formed this fertile plain, and they spread over an area of 7 lakh square kilometer. And this plain being about, the width is about 300 kilometer, and the length is about 2400 kilometer. And this northern plain is a densely populated physiographic division because of the fertile soil present there, and the river valleys are present there, and the agriculture is the major activity in these regions, and that is why they are the densest, densely populated region of the India. And with a rich soil cover combined with the adequate water supply and favorable climate, it is agriculturally a very productive part of India. And actually, the major part of the wheat and the rice is cultivated in this northern plain of India. And the rivers coming from the northern mountains are involved in the depositional work. I've told you that there are three type of processes, that is weathering, then erosion, then deposition. Deposition is done by the rivers in the depression, and in the lower course, because of the gentle slope, the velocity of river decreases, which result in the formation of the riverine islands. And this is a fact that you should remember this fact that Majuli in the Brahmaputra River is the largest inhabited riverine island in the world. And the rivers in their lower course is split into a number of channels because of the deposition of the silt, and these channels are known as distributaries. So the main river, water is divided into a large number of small rivers, and that is why they are known as distributaries. And the northern plain is broadly divided into three sections: west section, then middle section, and the east section. The western part of the northern plain is referred to as Punjab Plains. So these northern plain, they also could be divided into three parts latitudinally. Westernmost part is known as Punjab Plains, and they are formed by the Indus and its tributaries. And major part of this, Punjab Plain lies in the Pakistan. And then the Indus and its tributaries, Jhelum, Chenab, and Ravi, and Bias and Satluj, all of all of they have been originated in the Himalayas. And this section of plain is dominated by the Doabs. Doab means the sum of two rivers. Do means two, Ab means water. That is why Punjab is made up of two words. That is Panch means five and Ab means water. So Punjab is actually formed from five rivers, and that is why it is known as Punjab. And five rivers are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, and Satluj. And then the Ganga plains, extend between Ghaggar and Teesta river, and it is spread over the states of North India. That is Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, and some of the part of Jharkhand and West Bengal to the east. And then northern plains are generally described as flat land with no variations in its relief. It is not true because there are various diverse relief features of the northern plains also. And according to the variations in the relief features, the northern plains can be divided into four regions. First region is Bhabar, and then Terai, then Bangar, and then Khaddar. If you see in detail, the river after descending from the mountains, they deposit pebbles in a narrow belt of around about 8 to 16 kilometers in width, lying parallel to the slopes of the Shivaliks, and they are known as Bhabar. And so, all the river streams which pass through this Bhabar region, they actually disappear. And if you see the south of this belt, the streams and rivers, they re-emerges and create a wet, swampy and marshy region. And that marshy region is known as the Terai. And this was actually a thickly forested region full of wildlife and various type of natural resources present there. But the forest of this Terai or marshy region have been cleared to create agricultural land and to settle all the migrants which came from Pakistan after the India's partition. And the largest part of the northern plain is actually formed of older alluvium. They actually lie above the floodplains of the rivers, and they present a terrace-like feature. And this part is known as Bhangar. So the Bhangar is made up of older alluvium, and the Bhangar is not very fertile, and soil is in this region. They contain calcareous deposits. They are known as kankar. And then the southernmost part, that is the newest or younger deposits of these floodplains, they are known as Khaddar, and they are renewed almost every year, and that is why they are the most fertile regions. Their soils are most fertile, and thus they are ideal for the intensive agriculture. So these were the two major physiographic divisions of India. Now you see the third region, that is the peninsular plateau. This plateau is any plateau is a tableland, and I've told you in the beginning also that Himalayas, most of the part of Himalayas, they consist of sedimentary rocks, and then the peninsular plateau, they consist of the old crystalline, igneous, and metamorphic rocks. And these peninsular plateau, they were actually part of the oldest landmass present on the earth, that is the Gondwana land. I've also told you how the Gondwana and Angara land, they were made from the mainland Pangaea. And this plateau has broad and shallow valleys and rounded hills, and this plateau consists of two broad divisions. So this peninsular plateau, it could be divided into two broad divisions. The first one division is the Central Highland, and the second is the Deccan Plateau. See, the part of the peninsular plateau that lie north to the Narmada River, and they cover a major area of the Malwa Plateau. They are known as the Central Highlands. These are actually surrounded by the Vindhyas range, on the south, and the Aravalli on the northwest. So Central Highland will be the middle, and the Aravalli will be present on the northwest side of the Central Himalaya, Central Highland. Then Vindhyas range is present at the in the south of the Central Highland. And if you go further westward, the further westward extension, they gradually merges with the sandy and rocky desert of Himalaya, and the further west, is known as Great Indian Desert. And the flow of rivers, they draining this region like chambals in is from southwest to northeast. So the slope in this region is from southwest to northeast towards the Ganga rivers, because all these chambals in Betwa, again, they are the tributaries of the Yamuna river, and Yamuna is the major tributary of Ganga river. And the Central Highlands are wider in the west, but they are narrower in the east. And the eastern extension of sea, this peninsular plateau is extended up to the Meghalaya region, and the eastward extension of this peninsular plateau, or the part of this Central Highland plateau, are known as the Bundelkhand and Baghelkhand. And then Chota Nagpur Plateau, this marks the further eastward extension and drained by the Damodar River. The Deccan Plateau is actually a triangular landmass. You can see in the map also. It is clearly showing there. And that actually lies to the south of the river Narmada. So, river Narmada is actually dividing the peninsular plateau into two parts. The northern part is known as Central Island, and the southern part is known as Deccan Plateau. And the Satpura range actually, flank is broad base in the north. And while the Mahadev, Kaimur, and Mekal range, they formed its eastward extension. See, there are various type of hills and ranges, and these are the fact based information. So there is nothing to understand all this. You need to read two three times, or you need to listen this video two three times to to remember all these things. And you should also locate these hills and ranges in the physical map of India, then only you will come to know about all these hills and mountain ranges. And the Deccan Plateau is higher in the west, and it slopes gently eastwards, and an extension of the plateau is also visible in the northeast, known as the Meghalaya. I have told you that this peninsular plateau is actually extended from west in the Gujarat, Maharashtra region up to the Meghalaya region in the east. And the easternmost part is of the Deccan Plateau, and it is known as the Karbi Anglong Plateau, and also then the northern Kachar Hills. Then this Deccan Plateau is separated by a fault from the Chota Nagpur Plateau, and that fault is known as the Malda Fault. And then three prominent hill ranges from the west to east are the Gairo, Khasi, and Jaintia. So these Gairo, Khasi, and Jaintia, they are the part of the Peninsular Plateau, and most specifically, they are the part of the Deccan Plateau. They are not the part of the Eastern Himalayas. Please remember this, because this could be asked in the exam. And then there are very Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. They mark the western and the eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau. Western Ghats actually lie to the parallel to the western coast, and they are continuous and they can be crossed through passes. And there are various type of passes in the like the Thalghat, then Borghat, and then Palghat. Thalghat in the northernmost, then Borghat, then Palghat in the southernmost. Now, if you see the differences between the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats, Western Ghats are actually higher than the Eastern Ghats, and their average elevation is the average elevation of Western Ghats is around 900 to 1600 meter, but the average elevation of the Eastern Ghats is only 600 meters. So the Western Ghats are the higher than the Eastern Ghats, and then Eastern Ghats actually stretch from the Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiri in the south, and Eastern Ghats are discontinuous, but the Western Ghats are continuous. And Eastern Ghats are discontinuous and irregular, and they are dissected by the rivers draining into the Bay of Bengal. And the Western Ghats actually they cause orographic rain when the southwest, monsoon waves, they try to cross over Western Ghats, they actually result in the formation of the rainfall. And they cause the orographic rain by facing the rain bearing moist winds to rise along the western slopes of the Ghats. And Western Ghats are known by different local names also. And the height of the Western Ghats they actually progressively increases from north to south. So south is the height of the Western Ghats is highest in the south, and the highest peaks they include the Anaimudi, and the height of the Anaimudi is around 2700 meter, and then Deoda Beta. And if you see the highest peak of the Eastern Ghat, it is Mehendgiri. And then Shevrai Hills and the Javadi Hills, they are located in the southeast of the Eastern Ghats. And one of the distinct feature of this, peninsular plateau is the black soil region, and this is known as Deccan Trap, and it is very useful for the cotton cultivation. And this region, the Deccan Trap, is actually of volcanic region, and here the rocks are igneous. I've told you that in whole peninsular part, the rocks are either igneous or metamorphic. And in the regions of Himalayas, most of the regions of Himalayas are actually sedimentary. But we have already seen that in the part of Greater Himalaya, some of the rocks are granite, and granite rocks are actually igneous rocks. Now we were seeing this Deccan Trap. These rocks actually have denuded over the time, and that is why they are responsible for the formation of the black soil. And Aravali Hills, they are the most old fold mountains among the world. Some of the greatest old fold mountains present in the world, and one of them is Aravali, and second one, they are actually dissected and they are eroded over time. Now their height is very less. They lie on the western and northwestern margins of the peninsular plateau, and they are highly eroded hills and found as broken hills. And these Aravali they extend from Gujarat up to Delhi in a southwest to northeast direction. Then other major physiographic division of India is Indian desert. These actually lie, in the western margins of the Aravali. So these lie in the westernmost part of the India, and it is an undulating sandy plains. They covered with the sand dunes, and these are the most arid regions of the India, and they receive rainfall, very low rainfall, and below around 150 mm per year, and they had arid climate with low vegetation cover, and streams actually appear during the rainy season. during the rainy season only, and soon after they disappear also into the sand as they do not have enough water to reach the sea. And Luni is the only large river in this region of Great Indian Desert. And this is the term which is very important. Barchans or crescent-shaped dunes, they cover larger areas of this Great Indian Desert, and but longitudinal dunes become more prominent near the Indo-Pakistan boundary. Now the other part of other major physiographic division of India is coastal plains. The peninsular plateau is actually flanked by the stretch of narrow coastal strips they running along the Arabian Sea on the west. They are known as the western coast. Then on the east, and they are known as the eastern coast. Western coast, they are sandwiched between the Western Ghats and Arabian Sea. They are very narrow, and they consist of three sections. So western coast consists of three sections. The northern part of this western coast is known as Konkan, that is from the area from Mumbai to Goa. The central stretch is known as Kannad, and the southernmost stretch is known as Malabar. So the western coast is divided from north to south as Konkan, Kannad, and Malabar (KKM). And the plains along the Bay of Bengal are very wide and level. You can see in this map. So these are the western coastal plains. They are very narrow and they lie between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea. And in the in the east side, you can see these plains are very wide and dissected, and they are not continuous. And the eastern Ghats are actually discontinuous, and the eastern coastal plains are very wide. You can see in this plains along the Bay of Bengal are wide and level. And in the northern part, it is known as Northern Sirkar, and the southern part is known as the Coromandel Coast. So western coast are divided into three types of plains, three type of sections. The first is the northernmost is the Konkan, then Kannad, then Malabar, and the eastern coastal plains, they are divided into two types, two sections. The northern is the Northern Sirkar, and the southern is the Coromandel Coast. And various large rivers like Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri, they have formed extensive delta on this eastern coast. And this is the most important fact that Lake Chilka, it is the largest saltwater lake in India, and it lies in the state of Odisha and to the south of the Mahanadi Delta. And the last major physiographic division of India is island. There are two groups of island. Lakshadweep Island, they lie close to the Malabar coast of Kerala, and this group of island is actually composed of small coral island. Earlier they were known as Lakkadiv, Minicoy, and Amindive, and in 1973 these were named as the Lakshadweep, and it covers actually a small area of 32 square kilometer. So Lakshadweep is the very smallest part of the India, and Kavarati Island is the capital of the Lakshadweep, and it is also the administrative headquarters of Lakshadweep. Lakshadweep is actually coral island, and this island has great diversity of flora and fauna. And the Pitti Island, which is uninhabited, this has a bird sanctuary. You can see the elongated chain of the island located in the Bay of Bengal. They extend from the north to south, and they are known as the Andaman and Nicobar Island. They are the second important island group of India. It was believed that the Andaman and Nicobar Island, they are actually the the extension of the Arakan Yoma mountain range, and they are bigger in size and more numerous and scattered. An entire group of island is divided into two broad categories. The Andaman in the north and the Nicobar in the south. And I've told you that it was believed that these islands are an elevated part of the submarine mountains, and that mountains are known as Arakan. These island groups are of great strategic importance for the country, and in these islands also a great diversity of flora and fauna is found. And these islands they lie closer to the equator, and they experience equatorial climate. That is the length of day and night is almost equal, and they have thick forest cover also. And this is most important fact that India has only one active volcano, and that is found on the barren island in the Andaman and Nicobar group of island. Now we have saw that Lakshadweep they were known as the coral island. They were actually formed from the coral polyps, and coral polyps are short-lived microscopic organisms which live in colonies. They flourish in shallow, mud-free and warm waters, and they secrete calcium carbonate. And actually, these coral island they live in symbiotic relationship with zooxanthellae. We'll see more about corals and their bleaching and their formation. And there are three types of corals like barrier reef, then fringing reefs, then atoll. These are actually the stages of formation of coral. And the great barrier reef of Australia is the good example of the first kind of coral reefs. And atolls are circular or the horseshoe shaped coral reefs. So we have saw the detailed account of all the different physiographic units. And if you see, the country is richer in all the natural resources, all the type of reliefs and topography is present in India, and they have some of the very specific significance also, like the mountains are the major sources of water and forest wealth. Then the northern plains are the granaries of the country, because most of the production, granary production or agriculture production, comes from the northern plains, from the regions of UP, then Haryana, Punjab, and they provide the base for early civilizations also. And then the plateau region of Peninsular Plateau or the Deccan Plateau, they are a storehouse of minerals, and they have played a crucial role in the eastern industrialization of the country. Then the coastal region and island groups, they are also very important sites for fishing and port activities. So this is the end of this chapter. Now we'll see the exercises. First question is that a landmass which is bounded by sea on three sides is referred to as peninsula. I've told you in between the definition of the peninsula, so the answer would be sea. Then mountain ranges in the eastern part of the India forming its boundary with Myanmar are collectively known as Purvanchal. The answer would be C, Purvanchal or Eastern Himalayas. Then western coastal strip, that is south of Goa, is referred as Kannad. See, there are three divisions of western coastal, that is Konkan, then Kannad, and then Malabar. So the it is asking about south of Goa, because the region between the Mumbai and Goa is known as Konkan, and then between the Goa and some parts of the Kerala it known as Kannad. So south of Goa is Kannad. So answer would be C. Then highest peak in the eastern Ghats is Mahendragiri. That is the C. Now see these questions. Like first question is the what are the tectonic plates? See our lithospheric, you know, lithosphere is divided into various type of plates, like seven major plates and 20 or 21 minor plates. So these are known as tectonic plates because they keep moving, and they keep interacting with each other in the by the process of folding or faulting or transforming. Now, which continents of today were part of Gondwana land? We have already seen this, that India, then Australia, then South Africa, and then then Africa. So these are the parts of the Gondwana land. Then Bhabar is actually the part of the part lie to the south of the Shivalik, and Bhabar is actually the formed from the pebbles. Uh, you know pebbles which was carried by the rivers of Ganga or tributaries of the Ganga, and major rivers which pass through these regions, Babar, they actually disappear and they will reappear again in the southern part of this Bhabar region, that is known as the Marsi region, and that is known as the Terai region. Now, the three major divisions of the Himalayas from north to south are the Greater Himalaya or the Himadri, then Lesser Himalaya or the Himachal, and then the southernmost is the Sivalik. Then which plateau lies between the Aravalli and the Vindhyan range, that is the central. The peninsular plateau was divided into two parts. The first one is the this you can see this. The first one is the Central Highland and the second one is the Deccan Plateau. So the plateau lies between the Aravalli and the Vindhyan range in the Central Highland. Then the island group of India having coral origin is the Lakshadweep. Then converging and diverging. Converging means two plates try to come towards each other and they try to ride over one another. They try to ride over one another. They try to push one another and they actually result in the formation of the fold mountains. Then diverging tectonic plates, they are actually the plates which try to move away from each other and they result in the formation of new type of rocks. And second is the Bhangar and Khaddar. See, Bhangar is formed from the old alluvium and the Khaddar is formed from the new alluvium. Bhangar are actually calcareous and they are less fertile than the Khaddar, and Khaddar are renewed every year and they are very fertile and they are the most fertile regions of the northern plains of India. Then the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. Western Ghats are actually very narrow, and Eastern Ghats are very broad. We have already seen that. And Western Ghats are actually lie between the Arabian Sea and the western coast, and the Eastern Ghats are lie between the east. No, these Western Ghats are actually they are more continuous, and the Eastern Ghats are discontinuous, and various rivers actually eroded the parts of the Eastern Ghats. Then second difference is that Western Ghats are is they are having more altitude than the Eastern Ghats, and now the Himalayas, where formation of Himalayas we have already discussed. Major physiographic divisions we have already seen that Himalayas, then peninsular plateau, then desert, then Ghats, and then coastal plains, then islands. Now the northern plains of India, we have already seen that it is formed by the various tributaries and their deposits of Ganga, Indus, and Brahmaputra. And there are four parts of these northern plains of India. If you see it longitudinally, like first one is the Bhabar, then Terai, then Bangar, then Kankar, and then if you see it latitudinally, it could be divided into three parts. That is the Punjab Himalayas, and then the plains of Ganga, and then the plains of the Brahmaputra Himalayas. Now, Indian desert is lie in the westernmost part of the India, and they are the most arid regions of India, and rainfall is very less there. Then Central Island, they are actually see the whole peninsular plateau of India is divided into two parts, and the base is the Narmada River. So the part lie to the north of the Narmada River is known as the Central Highland, and they are actually formed in between the Aravalli ranges in the northwest and the Vindhya ranges in the south. Then island groups of India, two island groups of India are present. First is the Lakshadweep Island. Lakshadweep group, they are coral island. They lie to the southwest part of the India, and then second is the Andaman and Nicobar Island. They lie to the southeast part of the India. So this is the end of this chapter. Please like, share, and subscribe our channel. Study for Civil Services for more updates. Please, thank you for watching.